Welcome, everybody, to episode 57 of NFAT Podcast. I'm your host, Tony Kill, joined this week by the full team Jordan Schultz, Jess Saban, and returning for special periods out of retirement, Ben Parker. Thank you, Ben, for joining us, sir. But today's podcast is a special one. As you guys know, we're going to hear the first top 25 playoff ranking tonight. The committee is releasing it right now as we speak. What surprises will we see? Will things upset us? Probably. Will Alabama be ranked higher than they should? Probably. But we're going to kind of go through this and excited to see what happens as you do here. So we look forward to going through this with you. But before we get into that, let's jump into some college football news first. Starting up with Auburn firing head coach Brian Harsin after a really terrible year and a half there that he had. Just total mismatch from the start. I think Jordan, Ben, me and you guys talked about it January, February, March of last earlier this year that he should have been fired. He shouldn't make it for the year, but here we are. He didn't make it for the year, and he didn't make it for the whole season. So no surprise there. But they have to pay more buyouts after their last buyout that they did to the last coach. So they're paying a lot of money here for head coaches, and now they're on the look for another one. So, I'll open it up to the group here. Who do you guys think should be next head coach at Auburn? I know there's been some names released out there like Lane Kiffin, Deion Sanders, Jeff Grimes, Matt Rule, Hugh Freeze are probably the most popular names out there. So open up you, Jordan. Who do you think should get this job, and do you think Auburn can get back to being a successful program to challenge Alabama?
I think so. I think Auburn definitely can be back to a successful program. But I heard I can't remember his head off or his name off the top of my head. Alabama's offensive coordinator was a big name that I
Bill
heard.
O'Brien. Bill O'Brien.
Yeah, early right. Like I think I heard it this morning about him being the Auburn head coach, and I could see that. There's so many names out there right now that you know could be head coach. A lot of assistants that should be able to move up this year with all the openings. So it's going to be a weird year with moving around coaches and everything, but it's hard to tell who the choice is right now for me. I don't know if Deion Sanders really wants to go to Auburn. Lane Kiffin has a good job right now, so it's just hard to see who. But I definitely think whoever does can turn the program around. We've seen Auburn have really successful years in the last couple years, so you could really turn Auburn around.
No, for sure. I think definitely you can win at Auburn. I think it's all about you got to be someone that's going to be their relentless recruiter that will go up against Nick Saban in the same state and want to do those battles. So I think that's going to be the most important thing. Um, Ben, what about you, sir? Obviously in the southern part of the United States, there. What name do you think just really makes a lot of sense for Auburn that can really kind of push this program to the next level, maybe where they haven't been, consistently. They've been there a year here or there, but never consistently. Who do you think out there can really do that for them?
There's several names. Jordan already mentioned a few. Tony certainly throwing another one that I won't tonight. I just want it to be just for my pure entertainment level. I want to see Nick Saban with the athletic field. I just want that for my pure entertainment. Watching Deion.
Hey, we're having some technical difficulties with Ben there. So, Jess, what is your thoughts there on this situation?
I would really like to see Matt Rule come back to college football. I mean, I know his time with the Panthers was a disaster, but he was doing quite well with Baylor. Kind of going to a school like Auburn that has that, I mean, not to take anything away from Baylor, but like SEC football, it's just different from pretty much anywhere else in the country. Auburn has that history. Auburn has that pride, and they're gonna throw enough money at him, and I'd like to see what he could do with a program like that. We saw what he could do with Baylor, had a lot of success there. I really don't want to see Lane Kiffin leave Ole Miss. He's doing some good work there. Deion Sanders, I mean, he's had a lot of success with Jackson State. What he's doing there is very special, very important. I mean, they just hosted, I think, College Game Day Live, the first HBCU to do so. So, I mean, out of those other names, there's a lot of coordinators that we were, like you were saying, that are probably going to get the look. But I think the most interesting would be Matt Rule, in my opinion. Just, that guy with that pedigree comes in to the SEC. I think that
Yeah.
would make for a bunch of good storylines, if nothing else.
Yeah, I think for me, if they want to win, I think it's Hugh Freeze because I think he knows how to beat Nick Saban. But if you want to run a program the right way, I honestly think it needs to be like a Mark Stoops that can come in there and just kind of build it from the ground up, build a really good culture on the defensive side and on the offensive side, and do some good things there. I don't think Deion Sanders is a good fit here. I think ultimately, if he ends up leaving Jackson State, I think it's going to be for Florida State, his alma mater. I just don't know how good of a coach he is, just because he's able to recruit there at Jackson State, and so he has the talent advantage. But he would have that at Auburn. Would that change the way he coaches or change the results? And that would be something I'm interested in seeing. All right, let's move on to Michigan State. Obviously, we talked a little bit. Me and Jordan did on Saturday's podcast or Sunday's podcast that they had the big fight in the tunnel. There's now been 8. I think 4 originally were suspended. 4 more were suspended. So now 8 players have been suspended from Michigan State for attacking the 2 Michigan players in the tunnel. What should happen to these players, Jordan? Should they should suspension be it? Should there be some police criminal charges filed? Should they be able to play at Michigan State again? I mean, how much would you really focus on these players, and how much trouble should they be in?
I think it's, especially if the video's been out, it's been, all circulated. I think it's a bad look for Michigan State. And I heard a lot of things, reports going out that the players are going to probably press charges here soon. We might hear about it. So I think it was horrible what they did, and I think that they might be suspended for indefinitely. I would think, just because there's a bad look on Michigan State. That's a bad look on college football in general, and I think the NCAA is going to put down the hammer on this.
All right. No, I agree. Any additional thoughts or Jess? Anything additional you would want to see done here?
Uh, I mean, it was a terrible look. There was no excuse. They should probably get kicked out of their respect, out of the program, in my opinion. It was just go back to your locker room, get out of there. You got your butts whooped, whatever. It's just, if nothing else, it's immature. It's immature. It's stupid. It's reckless. There was no reason for it whatsoever. They should be done, in my opinion. You don't just do that. I mean, it's one thing when you see like both teams entirely converge in those hallways and there's chirping and some shoving. That was like they jumped them. Like that wasn't. It was a big group versus a very small group. It really kind of pisses me off that they'd have what's going through your heads when I don't know. I don't have a lot to say about it. It's stupid.
It's not like you got a lot to say about it, Jess.
I know. I just feel like I'm repeating myself. It's just so when I see that stuff, you have the opportunity that so many others don't to play college football, to be on that stage. And even if you're just on the team, I don't remember if those guys were starters, they were bench guys, whatever. You're on that team. And you have the chance to be on these massive stages, to play the game so many people love, and you're doing that. It's just so stupid.
Yeah, I mean, what are you gaining out of doing that to these 2 Michigan players? Like, yeah, so they might talk trash to you. You know what? You play like crap. You deserved it. Just deal with it and take that anger out on the next opponent that you play out there on the field. But I think that just shows a little bit of lack of culture there at Michigan State. You got to understand. You got to wonder if this is going to really cause them to have like a downward spiral there at Michigan State and cause it. They were started so good last year with the new regime and stuff. So it'd be interesting to see if they take a fall after this. the last piece here of news, then we'll jump into the playoff rankings. Is Big 12 signed a new TV deal with Fox ESPN for 31 million per year for their team. So I think it was like 2.2 billion over the life of the contract. I was surprised they got this, just because Oklahoma and Texas left. I think this shows you some strength with that team. It gives them, maybe that's enough to keep them kind of relevant. But then you also got to think they're going to be like 40 to 50 million dollars less than what the Big Ten is making per team and what the SEC is making. Um, they're more in line, a little less than what ACC is making. So I think we're starting to get that, the haves and have-nots, that line being drawn and how much money those teams make. What do you guys think? Do you think this is enough to keep the conference relevant? What do you think, Jordan?
I think so. I think they're losing Texas and Oklahoma, but they're gaining a couple teams. Cincinnati, they're gaining them. Cincinnati's having they're having a down year, but I think it's kind of a rebuild a little bit. So the Big 12 I think is going to stay relevant. I think it's a big deal for them to get Fox and ESPN to sign this contract with them, but I still think this conference is going to be relevant. I think it's kind of slowed down where beginning of the year we had all these talks about power conferences and all this, but I think it's kind of slowing down. I think teams are either staying or going to leave. We already know if they're going to leave. So right now, I think it's huge.
Yep. All right. Well, we'll keep an eye on that because I am interested to see what this does for the ACC. I know they obviously are trying to get a deal redone there. Um, and it makes you wonder, again, what is this going to do with any potential teams going to the Big Ten and SEC in the future? Will this slow the tide down a little bit, or just kind of put a band-aid until teams decide to branch off to other leagues down the road? So again, something to watch there. All right, so let's get to the big thing of the week. That's the college playoff rankings. I think the top 25 is just kind of coming in here. So let's kind of take a look at it on our side there. All right, we'll start with the top 25. Start off with Central Florida. A little surprised there. There were 6-2 coming in, so but they just had a big win over Cincinnati, so I think that kind of pushed them into the top 25. Texas here with 3 losses. I don't know exactly if they beat anybody great or good. They're top 24, but I think we talked about it beforehand. I think it's because they barely lost to Alabama. They get to come in here and get the 24th ranking. So I don't know about that. Then we have Oregon State and NC State and Wake Forest area from top 25 to top 21. Syracuse, after their blowout against Notre Dame, come in number 20. And you have Tulane. Nice to see Tulane here in the top 19. Oklahoma State, North Carolina, Illinois. So I'll start you, Jordan. Any surprises or things that make you angry from the first part of this list?
The Oklahoma State, I think they should be a little higher. I think Tulane should be above them, or just some other team, just because they got blown out this past week, 48-0. So that I think North Carolina should be ranked up more, just because they lost to a one team and they really dominated the rest. And then I'd say maybe Illinois should be moved up in that top 15. They lost one game. They had the best running back in college football, and they look good. So, but other than that, I think it's still a good top 25. Maybe, like you said, UCF and Texas shouldn't be on this list. I think Texas has way too many losses, and UCF doesn't look as good as they usually are. So, but all around, pretty good.
All right, Jess, your thoughts? Anything standing out to here in this list?
Honestly, I'm okay with UCF, though. I think I would switch them in Texas. Have Texas, kind of come in at 25 there. They're as per usual. Alabama is going to be getting a lot of love. So that narrow loss will play in Texas's favor. They're really going to have a fight this week against Kansas State, so they may or may not be on this list this time next week. Other than that, I don't really have much to say. I think I'd agree, drop Oklahoma State a little more. Maybe move teams like Tulane up. Maybe give Wake Forest or Oregon State a little more love. But other than that, I have no real complaints.
I guess for me, looking at it, I mean, we'll say a little bit. I think they should be ranked. You lose 48-0. he shouldn't be ranked. I mean, you got to at least score some points, even if it's a blowout. At least make consideration here. So I don't know about that. You know, I can be okay with Central Florida as well. Texas shouldn't be ranked. They haven't beat anybody. Uh, I agree. I think North Carolina should be ranked higher as well. I think they only lost to Notre Dame, you know, and I don't think that's a bad loss. So, yeah, I think they should at least be top 15. Honestly,
You
you know, I
wouldn't
think we
think
talked
that's
about
a
it
bad
beforehand.
loss.
Oh, Jess, you're going to be fired again. But I do think, speaking of Notre Dame, I think they should be in Texas's spot if you're going to go off of 3 lost teams because they beat Syracuse and they beat North Carolina, who is ahead of Texas here. So those are pretty good wins, I think. And they lost barely, close game to to Ohio State. So, all right, next up, let's look at the top 7 through 15. Number 15, Penn State. 14, Utah. 13, Kansas State. 12, UCLA. 11, Ole Miss. 10, LSU. 9, USC. 8, Oregon. 7, TCU. Jess, your initial thoughts here. Anything stand out to you that really kind of makes you angry or shocked?
Not really. I think honestly, after again what they did to Oklahoma State, who they still have ranked, as high as they do, I think I would have Kansas State up a little bit. But other than that, I mean, LSU surprises me that they have them ranked top 10. I thought maybe they'd get some love at like 15 or something, 13, 15, somewhere in
Well, they're
there.
playing Alabama this week, Jess, so they got to
Yeah.
get that love now, right?
Oh my God. It would not surprise me if they're like, well, we got to make this upcoming Alabama win look even better. But I mean, a little surprised at the LSU spot there, but again, nothing that I find to be that outrageous. Oregon being at 8, they've turned around their season. So, yeah.
Yep. All right. Jordan, what do you see here? Anything stick out to you?
No, I think this list right here is this. I think this stretch of list is probably the most accurate. Yeah, some teams could be from the top 25 to 26 pushed up, but I think this part of the list is pretty done. I think only team I could see I shouldn't be in this top 15 is Penn State. I think with the blowout loss to Michigan, and they lost to Ohio State. But I think because they're so high ranked, both those teams, that they got into that top 15. But every other school on that section of the list, I think deserve to be there. I think they play well. Kansas State with that 48-point win over Oklahoma State. I'd love to see TCU up higher, but that's just me.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
TCU should probably be. Honestly, I could see them at 5. I think I'd put them ahead of Clemson right now.
they should at least be 6. At least be 6. This
Least.
top 6 should be undefeated teams that are playing well. I just read a quote that the committee chairman said they like TCU, but they're looking for teams that have balance of both offense and defense. TCU has gotten behind on some teams. Hasn't Alabama almost lost multiple
Wait,
teams? Why are they ranked ahead of TCU?
and Georgia, I think 2 games in a row they
Oh,
were
I don't.
down.
Yeah, they were
Kent
down.
State.
I just
Missouri.
and they're like they put up a narrative that they want to get these SEC teams. I just don't. TCU deserves better. So that's number one that I see on this list. LSU has no reason to be in the top 10. It's totally just to give Alabama another top 10 victory to help move them up. But look at they lost to Florida State and they got blown out by Tennessee. Yeah, Tennessee number 1 team. So yeah, I mean that's not gonna hurt you as much. But they lost to Florida State, who's not ranked. So they have 2 losses. Ole Miss only has 1 loss. UCLA only has 1 loss. Kansas State, Utah have 2 losses, but there gets better teams than LSU lost to. Penn State lost to better teams. All those teams could potentially should be above LSU. I'm sorry, I don't see the LSU love there. And so yeah, that would
I
be my
mean,
concern
like
there.
Oregon, they seemingly have really turned things around overall, after week
Yeah.
1, which was, I mean, such a bizarre loss that, again, it's week 1. But at the end of the day, it always feels like that they're gonna find a way to put Alabama in that top 4 come playoff time. They're gonna find a way because I don't think Alabama loses another game until possibly the SEC championship.
Yeah.
But
Because they don't play it up. The rest of the schedule is really weak. So, yeah, I don't think they will. And they'll look
I mean,
back in the
we're hoping
playoffs.
Ole Miss will be good. We're saying LSU this high is a surprise.
Yeah.
And those are like their 2 toughest remaining games, I think. Again, outside of the inevitable championship game. But I don't know. It's the first one of these lists. We'll see how they start weighing things in a few weeks. But
Yeah.
I don't see that LSU top 10 being anything other than, oh, this is gonna look good for Bama.
Yeah, no, for sure. All right. Let's look at the top 6. Obviously, the playoff, the big playoff ranks here. So, number 6 is Alabama. Number 5 is Michigan. Number 4 is Clemson. Number 3 is Georgia. Number 2 is Ohio State. Number 1 is Tennessee. When I look at this list, I'm glad they put Tennessee number 1. I think Tennessee's been playing the best. Honestly, Clemson, Ohio State, Georgia, Michigan, you could really put them in either order. I don't think it's gonna. I wouldn't be upset about it. I mean, Alabama, we talked about them already, number 6. I don't know if they deserve that, but they are. Jess, look at this. What do you feel about this list? And do you think the 4 playoff teams are in this top 6, or is it going to be somebody else sneaking in here?
In this top 6, honestly, I think by the end of this, I think it's going to be some order of either Georgia or Tennessee, followed by Ohio State or Michigan, and then Tennessee or Georgia again, 1 and 3, and then I think TCU has a real shot here. So I would say that who I think is going to end there, but Clemson being at 4, I think is a little ridiculous.
Well, they're going down this weekend, Jess. So we'll talk about that a little bit later. But
they have been so inconsistent. They have not been able to really finish, off their opponents well.
I think Michigan should be ahead of them, honestly. If you really wanted to look at the resumes, I think Michigan probably has played better competition and looked better.
Michigan should be the 4th team right now. For me, it would be some order for this ranking, not the overall play. For this ranking, it would be some order of Tennessee, Georgia, Ohio State, Michigan. Those are the top 4 teams in my opinion. After that, I would put TCU. After that, I would put probably Clemson. Then I'd put Bama. But I mean, inevitably, because of how the rankings currently are, you've got Ohio State and Michigan who have to play each other. Then you have Tennessee and Georgia who play each other this week. And then it's going to be either Georgia or Tennessee are going to have to play Alabama in the championship game. So that might be a Tennessee-Bama rematch. That might be a Georgia-Alabama game. So there's going to be so much cannibalism in the next few weeks of the top 4 or in that top 6 range. So
yeah,
I don't know. I love that Tennessee is number 1. I think that is correct. I think they have beaten the hardest team so far. I mean,
if they beat Georgia, the game after that, they play Missouri, South Carolina, Georgia, Vanderbilt. I mean, they're undefeated if they beat Georgia.
If they beat Georgia, then I think they win the national championship. That is how high on them I will be. But they've got to beat Georgia first, and it's at Georgia. They narrowly beat Alabama at home. So there's no getting. I'm not going to be riding the Tennessee train too highly this just yet. But Ohio State, I agree, number 2, Georgia number 3, and then I personally would have Michigan 4. But for some reason they're really high on Clemson right now. So.
Yep. All right, Jordan.
Yeah, thanks, Jess. You talked a lot, man. Thanks, man. I think the list is perfect. I think the biggest thing is Alabama shouldn't be on that list in the top 6, but I think Clemson has a better resume than Michigan. I know you don't want to hear that, but Michigan only has played one ranked team. Alabama or Clemson has played 3,
Who are
and
they
they've
playing
came out.
ranked?
Yeah,
Michigan or
that's the
Clemson?
thing though. They haven't
Clemson.
exactly
Wait,
played great.
they played what? Wake Forest, Syracuse,
Wake Forest, NC State,
NC State. Yeah.
Syracuse, Wake. Yeah, so Michigan's played Penn State.
True. Yeah, I mean that's true. I was
It's
thinking, I think
the
I don't
resume.
think highly of the ACC. I guess when I think of even like those teams, I just don't think have been as good. But yeah, I think both are probably very similar. They haven't played as good of a competition as
Well, then
Tennessee, Georgia, or Alabama. Honestly,
But I like the top 4 right now. I think because it's the first week, the top 5, it doesn't matter. If you're in that top 5, that's good because then if you get that win, you get pushed up. Or someone loses, you get pushed up. So you want to be in that top 5 or 6. Honestly, you want to be in that top 10 right now. First week of college football playoff ranking. Doesn't really matter.
yeah.
It matters enough to solidify your spot. Okay, I'm 4. I need to win out the rest of the season, a team in front of me needs to lose.
Yep.
And I think Clemson, Michigan are really looking at this week as Tennessee. I'm going to be moving up, no matter what. Tennessee loses, they drop out. I'm pretty sure they're going to drop out of the top 4. Georgia loses, they're going to drop out of the top 4. Those 6, 7 teams.
Well,
are
now
looking.
you say that, but I guess they could. But I'm saying like Tennessee loses to Georgia, right? Could they still stay in the top 4 because they will stay in front of Alabama because they have the head-to-head victory against them, right?
You would
You're
think.
putting way too much faith in the committee there because if Alabama beats LSU, they beat a top 10 team. You don't think they're going to give Alabama that nudge?
Well, they always say they give the head-to-head advantage if they have the same record, or unless it's
They
less
say
one
that.
team. So, I mean, I know they have went away against from that a couple times in the past, but I mean, my thinking is if Tennessee loses a close game to Georgia, they should stay in the top 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you gotta
close.
also I know how you guys are saying that Tennessee, barely narrowly beat Alabama at home, but Alabama has a better offense than Georgia. Alabama can put up numbers, can carry it.
True.
Their offense can carry their team if need be. So they have the firepower. Georgia doesn't.
But Georgia has a much better defense this year than
They have a
Alabama.
much better defense. But if Tennessee gets the ball right away, knocks them in the mouth, they control that game. And I definitely see something crazy happening in that game. But I like the top 6. Maybe not Alabama. I think like you said, TCU should be up there. Honestly, I could see Oregon being up there. It's just riding Alabama right now is the biggest thing. Alabama's lost too many or has had too many close calls this year so far, and really haven't shown me that they're a Nick Saban team.
What's their best victory, Alabama, this year?
Alabama best victory.
Did they have a ranked opponent they beat?
Texas.
That's right, Texas.
They beat Arkansas when everyone was a bit higher on Arkansas.
Mississippi State.
But Mississippi State's not ranked.
Oh yeah, that's it. Arkansas, but Arkansas's not
Arkansas is not ranked. Texas is the only team they beat that's ranked in this committee top 25. What I mean, and then who has TCU beaten? They've beaten Oklahoma State and they've beaten Kansas State, who are in the top 25. So why are they not ranked ahead of Alabama? That'd be my argument. I just don't understand. I still understand. Like the resume is not there for Alabama. Yeah, they lost a close game to Tennessee, but they barely beat other teams. They haven't looked impressive. They haven't beat a top 25 team that's on the current list. So their resume is just not there. I just don't understand why we give this love. It's all based on past years. It's not supposed to be.
Tony, Alabama beat Utah State 55-0. They beat Vanderbilt 55-3. LA Monroe 63-7. How is that not impressive?
That's true. I mean, those are really juggernauts of the college football world. So I should look at it better like that. I know what's going to happen, and I hate that it's getting this way. But Georgia's going to beat Tennessee. Georgia's going to lose to Alabama. All three of those teams are going to make the college football playoff. It's just that's what's going to happen, and we're going to be like all mad about it when it happens, but it's going to happen. TCU is going to be left out.
Pray to God, just to avoid that scenario, that Tennessee beats Georgia.
Yes, but hey, Illinois can still play upset for Michigan, all right? Just throwing it out there.
Yeah,
this is why I want chaos. I want Alabama to lose to LSU. I want Tennessee to beat Georgia. I want Michigan to lose to Illinois. I
Notre
want
Dame
some
to beat
chaos
Clemson.
up there. I want some chaos in this top 10.
Yep, I heard
Give
you
me
say
a
Notre Dame,
football.
yep.
Give me a college football playoff of Tennessee, Oregon, TCU, and
Well, there'll be
who
SEC
else do you have?
team. No way they can't have SEC team in there. So
Well, Tennessee.
Tennessee, yeah. So Tennessee, Oregon, God,
TCU.
North Carolina,
I'm telling Tulane, dude. Tulane's getting in
Tulane. That's right.
Yeah, and Tulane. Throw Tulane in there, please.
It's gonna be a huge, like meltdown at the top. The 18 teams. Every team's gonna lose this week, and then LSU is gonna lose the rest of the year. Just it's there's gonna be a lot of shifting. Tulane's gonna jump 12 spots. They're gonna be in the top 10, dude. Just let it happen.
We'll see. But yeah, I think good start for the most part. There's a couple of things obviously we can nitpick, but I think overall it's a pretty good start for the committee there with their top 25. Looking forward to seeing Notre Dame crack that next week with their big victory against Clemson. So we'll talk about that in just a second.
I'll be rooting for that just because I want that chaos, man. I'll be rooting for Notre Dame.
They're gonna be able to jump up. Texas is gonna lose this weekend to Kansas State. Yeah,
maybe.
No, it's going to happen.
That'll be
I don't know why you're going to say maybe.
Well, I mean, Texas is so weird. Like,
no,
they'll get their butts whooped one week and then play stunner the next week. It's
against who?
Well, narrowly Alabama.
Yeah.
Granted, Texas A&M also almost did that to Bama. So.
Texas just lost to Oklahoma State last week. I don't know what you're talking about here. Or 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, it was. Let's see. Exactly. Okay. Let's talk about some top 5 matchups coming up this week. Well, not top 5, but the top 5 games of the week. So let's start off with Texas Tech at TCU. I think we're all high on TCU. But Jordan, do you see them, have any trouble here in this Texas Tech game? I think Fox is going to be there with the big noon game. So what do you see happening here in this game?
I think TCU is going to steamroll Texas Tech. They're going to come off the high of 48-0 against Oklahoma State, come off the high of being ranked this high in college football playoff, and they're just going to go in there, smack Texas Tech around and win. I think it's going to be another 48-0 performance for Texas Tech. Or TCU, not Texas Tech, sorry.
All right.
There's not a lot to say in that game.
Yeah, I mostly agree. I don't think it's going to be 48-0. I think it's going to be more like a 42-17, that 42-17, type of game, and it's not even going to feel that close. Maybe they take their foot off the gas in the second half and let Texas Tech score a couple, but yeah, I don't see this game being particularly close.
Yeah, I agree. I liked how Texas Tech started this season. The new coach, new energy. They came out strong. They beat Oklahoma. But I think they started to get a little bit more adversity last week. They lost to Baylor 45-17. Their quarterback Morton didn't look as good as he has been looking. I think the past recruiting classes are probably catching up to them a little bit. They don't have the depth they need to play. So I can see this one, a very similar score, like 45-17 type score where, they keep it close early, but then as they wear down, TCU just kind of runs them out of the building. So that's kind of what I see happening as well. All right. Biggest game of the week, number 1, Tennessee, at number 3, Georgia. Jess, are you rolling with Tennessee to go ahead and take this victory down there in Athens?
I want to so badly, but I don't think they do. I think it's close. But I think Georgia's defense is just going to get that one important stop, and I don't think that they're going to be able to pull off a miracle like they did against Bama. And I think the big difference maker is that this is at Georgia. So I think Tennessee is the better offense, but Georgia has the better defense. And, as the old saying goes, defense wins championships. So I think Georgia, we were just saying a little bit earlier, Alabama is a better offense than Georgia, but I think Georgia's offense will be able to do just enough. Their defense makes this one important stop, and I think this game ends up being like 38-35, something like that.
Jordan, do you agree, sir?
No, I'm gonna take Tennessee on this one. I'm riding high on Tennessee. I think if they can get that first score and control the pace of this game, I don't think Georgia's offense can handle fast pace. If they cover Bowers the whole game, 2-man, I don't know if Stenson Bennett knows who else is on the team and wide receiver. And I think how many star offensive players that Tennessee has, I don't know if Georgia is going to be able to cover them all. Be able if Tennessee's offensive line can stop Georgia's defensive line long enough for Hooker to have enough time to throw the ball, I think this is going to be a close game. But I think Tennessee can control this pace. I think it's going to be a 7-point victory.
All right. This was a tough one. I know the strength of Georgia obviously is their defense, but with their star player Nolan Smith being out for the season, they had 10 sacks that season. 3 of those was his, and I think you're going to be hurt a little bit on a production wise. Now they have a bunch of recruits behind him, and they should be able to kind of plug and play, but there might be some transition, and you got to wonder if Tennessee will take advantage of that. And I do wonder if Georgia will be able to score enough points in a quick enough fashion. They are used to kind of having more of a slugfest rather than a shootout. So, but it's in Athens, and the crowd is pretty energized there usually when you play. And I think it's a night game, right? Am I crazy?
No,
Thinking there's daytime.
I think it's the 3:30 game.
3:30 game.
Yeah, it's a 3:30 game.
Oh man, I think I'm gonna go with Tennessee. I think Tennessee's going to find a way to win this game. So, with it be, at night, Georgia's a little crazier at night, but in the daytime, it's a little more subdued. And so I think Tennessee come in there, hit them in the mouth quickly, make it a game, take the crown out of it a little bit, and I think they can end up winning this game in a close fashion. So, give me Tennessee. All right. Include Texas on here because Kansas State, they're playing Kansas State. We have Texas and Kansas State, the number 23rd or 24th Texas team, a top 15 team, Kansas State. So, Jess, do you see this one being close? Can Texas keep it close? Or do you see Texas kind of out talenting Kansas State here, or will Kansas State get this one?
This game is at Kansas State, correct?
Yes.
Yes, it is.
Then I'm rolling with Kansas State. I think it's going to feel closer than the final score will suggest. Kind of the opposite of what I said about TCU's game. But I think Kansas State wins this game by 13, 17 points or so. They really impressed me last week with what they did to Oklahoma State. And again, as I was saying a little earlier, Texas is so up and down. They're a really weird team. It feels like one week they can beat anybody. The next week they're just, we all thought Texas was back, but nope. So I think Kansas State takes this one, but I think Texas will give them a good fight.
All right, Jordan, you agree?
No. Yeah, I do. No, I got Kansas State on this one. I don't think Quinn Ewers is really 100% back, with, injury. And it's away. Quinn, last time they played away, he didn't have a great game. I think Kansas State's a better team that they're playing this week. So give me Kansas State. I think it's going to be by at least 21. I think Kansas State's offense is going to, dictate this game a lot.
Give me Kansas State blowing out Texas. Give me all the Kansas State love. I'll take them. All right. Alabama versus me and Jordan's favorite coach, Brian Kelly and LSU. Jordan, what do you see happening here, sir? Does Brian Kelly get his big victory over Nick Saban finally?
I mean, honestly, I don't want to say it, but
don't say it.
It's a home game for LSU. It's the 7 o'clock game. I can't. I don't know. This one's like probably the hardest game of the week to choose. Alabama doesn't look like Alabama this year. Brian Kelly has really turned that program around this year. They look decent enough. But give me Alabama. I think Alabama's going to pull it out. I think Bryce Young's going to have one of the best games of the season, and their defense is going to be able to withstand this LSU, especially at home. So Alabama, I think it's going to be really close. Though I think it's going to be at least a touchdown or a field goal. But I just think Alabama has more firepower right now and a better coach.
All right. Oh man, this is a hard one. I see what your point. I mean, LSU has been playing better. Alabama hasn't been. It's in LSU. That's usually a really good place for them to play. But I just remember Brian Kelly in these games is usually when he comes up short as a coach. So give me Alabama to win this one. It might be closer than we think. 7 points, 3 points, somewhere in that area. But give me Alabama. All right. Me and Jordan will be at this game on Saturday. It'll be Clemson and Notre Dame. It may be in the rain. It may be a little chilly. Jess, I even hate passing this over to you, but who do you got here? Do you got top 4 team in Clemson, or do you got the team with more top 25 wins in Notre Dame?
Wow, way to phrase that.
Just kidding. Clemson has more top 25 wins.
Well, as I said earlier, I will be rooting for Notre Dame. However, I am picking Clemson. As much as I was saying that Clemson shouldn't be in that top 4, I think they should be 5 or 6, depending on how you view Michigan and TCU. But I do think they are the better team. And well, do we know if DJ is the starter this week?
He is. He's a starter.
Gosh, that actually makes this harder.
But he has played in Notre Dame before for over 400 yards. Last time he started there when they lost. But...
yeah, but he's just. It felt like there's this really brief stretch of like 2, maybe 3 games earlier in the year where it felt like, oh, is he turning it around? And then he just has back some more poor performances. They had to bench him. I think I'm still gonna roll with Clemson. I will be rooting for Notre Dame, but I think I'm picking Clemson here.
We don't need your pity roots, okay?
No, wait, nope. Shh.
Yeah, you just had your piece. The big boys are talking now. All right, Jordan.
Okay.
Who do you got, Jordan? We're going to be there. Are we going to be disappointed there in South
No,
Bend?
I definitely think Marcus Freeman wants to win this huge game at home. I think the players are going to be fired up. The fans are going to be fired up. And I think the biggest right now is Notre Dame's running game is rolling. And I think if it does rain during the game, I think Notre Dame has a better running team right now than Clemson does. And I think Notre Dame's run game can, with their offensive line being as good as they've been this whole season, I think Notre Dame pulls this one out. I think it's gonna be a little closer than we would want, but at least a touchdown. I think Notre Dame's gonna come out with some trickery. I could even see them putting in their backup Anzalone at some point just to confuse Clemson's defense. But give me Notre Dame. Just stop shaking your head.
All right. Yeah, this is gonna be a tough game. I mean, Clemson has a really good defensive line, but they've been shaky at times. The running game has been good, but they take games off where against inferior opponents, and I just don't know which side's going to show up. I still have questions on their offensive line. I still have questions on DJ. On Notre Dame side, they can't complete a forward pass right now, so I'm a little worried about that piece as a quarterback position. They can run. They do have the best tight end in the country. Their receivers are starting to step up. Their defense is starting to get more turnovers and starting to play better. I see both these teams are flawed, obviously. So I think it could be a good game that kind of goes back and forth a bit. I just have a feeling that Marcus Freeman has to have his team fired up. The games that Notre Dame has played good this year against Ohio State, when they came up a little short, but played better than anybody this season. North Carolina and Syracuse. All those teams are ranked, and they, won two and lost a close one to another up to Ohio State. This is the games he gets this team up for. He prides himself on. He wants them to be motivated, ready to go. I think he gets his first top 5 victory here against Clemson. Me and Jordan will be celebrating all night there in South Bend. Sorry you're going to miss out, Jess, but we'll definitely send photos. But it's going to happen. I think it's going to be the upset, and we'll be there to witness it. Or they'll lose, and it'll be, a long
We'll
drive
still
back
drink.
home.
We'll party.
Still drink.
Still, you drink if they win, you drink if they lose.
Just
Yeah,
for different
sounds
reasons.
about right.
Yeah.
Hopefully it doesn't
All
rain
right.
too much so my leg doesn't get wet.
Yeah. Might be taking George to the hospital on Saturday, so hopefully we can avoid that.
Hopefully not.
All right. Well, that's the top games. Again, not as many marquee games next week, but the ones that we do have, I think are going to be pretty good. I'm really looking forward to that Tennessee, Georgia, Alabama, LSU, and Clemson Notre Dame games. I think those would be the 3 marquee games of the week. I'm interested to see what happens there. I hope they're good games. I don't want any blowouts. I would like to see some good competition and some good matchups there. All right. What you guys have been waiting for since last week. It's our top 5 candies. And this is in enough, because Halloween's this week, we wanted to celebrate candy, but it doesn't have to be Halloween candy that we're celebrating here. I have my list. There might be some issues. People might not even heard some of the candy I'm going to put on here, but we're sorry we missed Ben. He had some technical issues. Could have joined the broadcast, but I know he had like some peppermints and stuff like that. He's really excited to showcase you guys. Not able to talk to you about this week, but we'll try to get him back on here in a future episode. We'll start with you, Jordan. If you have your candy, I know you've been studying and working on this all week since last time.
Definitely.
So
been studying.
I need a solid top 5 here. Solid top 5.
All right, here we go. Reese's peanut butter cups. Number 1. I that's my favorite candy. Twizzlers.
Oh,
I can tell you the story of why I picked Twizzlers, but you probably don't want to hear it.
I don't.
Skittles. This is my 3rd.
Solid. My son likes that. It's his favorite.
Tony, looking at your list, man, you are an old person. M&M's with peanut butter in them, though. Peanut butter M&M's.
I'm the old person. You got Twizzlers and M&M's. Come on, man.
And I don't know, man. Oh yeah. Wait. 3 Musketeers. That's on my list as well.
All right,
my
Jess. 5. I know you've been studying. You've been working hard. Even
Just don't give us your chip list. A lot of research, again, right?
So this is gonna shock you guys.
Oh no.
No,
but
nothing you said does.
Number 1, unequivocally, the best candy of all time, Reese's peanut butter cups.
Oh, I'm surprised you picked the same thing as us.
That's not my number 1.
Reese's is my favorite candy. Has been forever. It is in my mind.
We don't need to hold your whole backstory. What are another? That's 2.
No. I'm just saying.
He first had the candy when he was 5.
I saw Tony's list, but it's specifically the cups are the best.
Are we? You just gonna give us
Number
one?
2.
Okay, there you go.
Sour Patch Kids, not the watermelon. Sour Patch Kids. Number 3, M&Ms. Specifically for me, the dark chocolate ones, but peanut butter. I know they got like all kinds of crazy ones. I had like these brownie ones. They were pretty good, but the dark chocolate ones are my favorite. Number 4, give me a classic Hershey's bar.
That's disgusting. Get out of here.
What the?
Turn the feet off. Just kidding.
Number 5, Crunch Bars.
I can deal with the Crunch Bar. It's
not.
It's just chocolate like Reese's or Hershey's.
Okay. That's good. That's a better list than you have been provided us. At least it's better than just the chip with no salt like you gave us last
told
week.
you guys going into that.
I like the plain chip, no salt. Okay. My top 5. Number 1, 3 Musketeers. It's the best candy bar out there. I think it's better than Reese's Cup. My wife would disagree, but I think it's the 3 Musketeers. Number 2 for me is the Reese's Sticks. Those are the best Reese's product, I think. Those are definitely number 2 for me. Good, nice crunch to it. It's beautiful taste. Number 3, you probably may not have heard this, but the cowtail.
That's disgusting. You are gross.
What is a cowtail?
Cowtail. It's like
It's caramel.
Well, and then like
beautiful,
cream in the middle.
I'll send you guys some. I mean,
No, I
okay.
don't want those. Those
Hey,
are gross.
Cowtails, if you guys are listening out there, Cowtails Incorporated, if you want to sponsor,
Sponsor only Tony. Don't sponsor us. I don't want any of that.
No, I'll send you guys some Christmas gifts. It's going to be a whole stocking full of
Is it
Cowtails.
if anyone here listening, tweet us. Is it only a Midwest thing, or are there Cowtails in the
I grew up
South?
in the South, Jordan.
Oh yeah, you did. Yes.
I did have Cowtails growing up, so it is a whole United States thing. So,
is it though? Because Jess doesn't know what they are.
Jess he likes plain
Uncultured.
chips. So what does he know?
Well,
Number 4 for me is the Reese's Cup. You guys were on there. That's especially the little ones around the holidays.
Please,
those are beautiful.
Please don't say you're 5. Please do not say that.
Number 5, and I have number 6 because I wanted to add it, but it was back and forth between these two. But
you better add number 6, number 5.
Candy corn.
That's disgusting.
Candy corn. It's the best Halloween candy.
No, it's not.
I look forward to it every year. I haven't got it this year, but when I do
just so you all know, listening, Tony is like a 65-year-old man at heart.
Hey, actually, that means I
wouldn't have a top 5, but I agree. Candy corn is so underrated.
Candy corn? Yes, you don't even know what it's called.
Candy corn is underrated. I don't have a top 5. I don't even know if it'd make my top 10, but that's mainly because like most things in my top 10, it's like all chocolate. But the hate on candy corn needs to end.
It does.
No, it doesn't.
My alternate, I just wanted to add in there, Warheads.
Those
I grew up on those. I used to sell those in school and make some profit off of those. So
you're bad. Don't listen to him. He's a bad influence.
So those are my 6. Next week we'll think of something. Next week we'll do this for fun. Maybe do a Twitter poll what you guys want to hear. Top 5s of what unseasoned thing Jordan likes and Jimmy just likes next. We'll talk about it next week.
Oh, I don't. I like everything seasoned. Get out of here.
I know. I meant to talk about it with Jess there. Sorry.
What?
Until next time, we'll talk to you after next week after Notre Dame does the huge upset over Clemson, and we can celebrate. We might even do a podcast drunk. We never know. But in the meantime, make sure you follow us in the Flat Pod on Twitter, in the Flat Podcast on our website, where we posted our top 10 article this week. Break it down who we thought were in the top 10. We had Tennessee before the committee did. Just remember that. All right, guys. Well, we'll talk to you next week. Bye.